feel a little bit like a newscaster. Except I probably should have cleaned the desk a little bit. But I thought it was fitting because this is sort of like a newscast. I wanted to share what's been going on here in Mexico as things reopen. If you saw my video earlier in the week, you'll see me speaking to a few people who live in other parts of Mexico and what it looks like there for them at the moment. But I wanted to dig a little bit deeper into tourism specifically, because that's the number one question I'm getting at the minute. And yeah, just sort of like give you the information that I've been reading in Spanish that hasn't really been making it to US news or English news in general. Yeah, and just sort of decipher it, chat about what's happening here, what the next few weeks, and according to the news and the government, what the next few months are going to look like here in Mexico, around the country, what's opening now, flights, buses, all that sort of stuff. I'll do what I usually do in the description box below, and I'll sort of put timestamps on the different things that I'm talking about so you can skip around and yeah, easily access this information. I also want to preface this video by saying that this is in no way meant to sway you either way. I'm going to try and keep my opinions out of this video. It's totally up to you what you feel comfortable with. Whether or not you should travel to Mexico or not is not my decision. I just want people to have the facts and the information that help them make this decision for themselves. So let's chat. So the first thing that I want to talk about is the sort of red light Semáforo system that Mexico and the Mexico federal government have put into place for Mexico. Basically, pretty much every state is starting out in the red, and this is just because the numbers continue to rise in most states at the moment. Red means pretty much nothing can be open, you have to keep social distancing, and yeah, I think construction can start. That's pretty much the only thing. If the state can show that the numbers have decreased for 2 consecutive weeks, then you move down into the next bracket, which in this case would be orange. With orange, I believe that factories can reopen at a reduced number, and like public spaces can reopen at a reduced number as well. They ask that people who are at the highest risk remain at maximum sort of care for what they're doing, which basically means don't leave your house. Again, 2 consecutive weeks of decreased cases takes you to yellow, which means that the factories, I believe, can open at full capacity. Parks and other public outdoor spaces can open, they were open in orange, but can open to a larger capacity, but are still reduced. This is, for instance, like parks, beaches, that sort of outdoor stuff. And I believe that in yellow, indoor, like public spaces, like offices, museums, that sort of thing, can reopen at a very reduced rate. And again, they ask that people who are in the categories of being at most risk remain vigilant, but less vigilant. A medium, that's what it says, like medium vigilancy. And then again, 2 consecutive weeks will take you to green, and green is basically everything can be open, including schools, and museums and parks and everything like that, factories at full capacity, construction, but that people still remain vigilant, people still keep social distance, or like a safe distance. Masks still need to be used. Obviously, they're still telling people that they need to wash their hands. Yeah, so every state is going to have totally different courses of action. At this point, even though most of the states are in red, they have begun to open things. This photo that I showed you as I was talking doesn't address hotels. It doesn't address restaurants. It doesn't address bars. That is then really up to the state, the governor of each state, to decide what that looks like and what the opening process for that is. And many governors are making those decisions, as are the mayors of these smaller places like Puerto Vallarta or Puerto Escondido, these smaller sort of municipalities that rely heavily on tourism to function. I should really get a Mexican flag mug. So the question that I'm getting the most, and that I'm sure most of you are interested in learning about, is where is opening right now? Great question. The first place, and the place that is being the loudest about reopening, is Quintana Roo. Quintana Roo is the state in which you will find Cancun, Playa del Carmen, Tulum, and all the beaches that are in between those places. They have not opened up public beaches there yet, but I assume that it will be happening in the next week, 2 weeks, probably by June 15th, but maybe a little bit later. Again, it's up to the sort of local municipalities, but resorts in Cancun are back open, stores, restaurants, bars, everything that like runs on tourism is back open. If you stay at a resort in Cancun or any of these places, they likely have a private beach. You are allowed access to that beach. But if you go to Cancun and you stay at an Airbnb, you can't go to like the public beaches. Technically, they're still closed at the moment. But they are definitely being the most proactive about trying to get tourism back in this region of the country. It is one of the, if not the biggest industry in this part of the country. It's beautiful. However, the seaweed is peaking at the minute. If you want to see what's happening in Puerto Morelos, which is just south of Cancun, I recommend following Divert Living on Instagram. I spoke to Jimmy in my last video about Puerto Morelos, and as of Monday, June 8th, everything changed from what him and I talked about, so everything is back open there. I believe that they are even allowed to go to the beach, so again, like I said, it really depends on what's happening in each location. It's very hyper-specific to even like the towns, so yeah, like I said, I'm going to keep updating these videos. I'm going to keep updating this information as often as I can because it is changing rapidly at the minute. The next place that seems to be opening pretty quickly is Jalisco. Jalisco is where you'll find Puerto Vallarta, Guadalajara, and all the sort of places that surround those cities. And according to my friend Stephanie, who I again talked to last week, Jalisco, Puerto Vallarta has started reopening a lot of things. Again, the beach is not open, but the parks are back open, restaurants, stores where you can buy souvenirs, all back open. So I think it's only a matter of time before the beach reopens there, and you'll be able to go on a boat ride and all these other things that they sell you on the beach in Puerto Vallarta. I was speaking to a company in Guadalajara recently, and they told me that Guadalajara has started reopening things. They are hoping that tourism can resume fully there in the sort of Tequila and Tlaquepaque areas around September, early September. So again, I'll keep you updated on how that goes. Confusingly, the Yucatan went into the orange this week, on Monday I believe, and according to my friend Cassie, who lives in Merida, not much has changed, so I don't know exactly how these color coding stoplight systems are affecting the general public and the tourism, because Merida continues to be pretty much closed. The biggest difference at the minute is that you can finally buy alcohol. They've been in ley seca, dry law, for I think 2 months. Since I first did that interview with Cassie in April, they haven't been able to buy alcohol at all in the whole state, and yeah, now it's back, but you can't buy it in the store. Like, you can't go to the store to buy it yourself. You have to order it online or have it delivered in some way. You can call your local store and they'll like deliver it to you. So yeah, super interesting stuff going on there. It's still quite strict. Everything's closed. Schools are not being reopened until September. But they are talking about possibly opening up the road between Merida and Progreso in the coming weeks, so that you will be able to go back to the beach. Yeah, I think the public spaces are definitely the places that are going to be opening first. For those of you that follow along for Mexico City content, I really don't have a lot of news for what's been happening here. Mexico City's in the red. We have ever so slightly in the last 4 days started to decline the numbers. Yeah, I think we're down 7% from last week's numbers, so we'll see how that goes. I know that a lot of restaurants have stayed open. You can just get takeaway there. A lot of cafes, same, you can just order sort of at the door of the store and wait for your order. And a few of the small parks, like for instance, like Parque Mexico, have sort of remained open. You can still go for a walk. You can still walk around Amsterdam on the pedestrian way. It's really up in the air about Mexico City. I don't know what's going to happen in the coming weeks. The government of Mexico City seem to believe that we will be in the green by late August, early September. Hotels are starting to open back up. Public spaces like Chapultepec has been closed. I believe that that's going to reopen soon. And yeah, I'll just have to keep you updated on Mexico City because not much news, certainly not much good news coming out of Mexico City at the minute. So what is opening back up? Again, it's varying state to state, but really in the next few weeks you should expect to see hotels opening back up, especially to foreign tourism. Airbnbs, a lot of people have sort of been not allowing people to rent for short periods of time, and I believe that is coming back out. You will be able to sort of rent for a week or less in different parts of the country. Beaches will resume and open back up again in the next few weeks. I'm almost certain. Restaurants and bars are going to be back open with a reduced capacity. Hotels again will be at a reduced capacity. I've seen different numbers depending on the area of the country, but it's anywhere between 30 and 60% capacity, and that goes for restaurants and hotels. I've been told by a few people in Puerto Vallarta and Cabo San Lucas that the resorts that usually do like all-inclusives and all that sort of stuff won't be having like public spaces open for at least another month. So that means like no going to the restaurants, right? Like no buffet, no use of the pool, only the beach. And then I'm pretty sure that if it's all-inclusive, it's like room service based. So that you avoid like the public spaces like the lobby and the gym and that sort of thing. But again, that's going to change quickly, I believe, especially when people want to start coming in August and September. Things are going to change there. I also want to note that the government have spoken pretty openly about wanting to make sure that the places that are reopening, especially hotels where you'll be spending a lot of time, are going to have to meet certain sanitary requirements, something like cleaning every night. The guidelines at the moment are vague, but I'm sure that it's being driven by the local governments. I was watching a video from the Baja Sur governor a couple of days ago, and he's they've been very persistent about making sure that it's going to be perfectly safe for people before they can return to Cabo and to La Paz and that whole region of the country. So yeah, it's definitely, again, locally based, and it's just really important to sort of share this information that the cleanliness is going to be at a top priority for these hotels because they want nothing more than for you to feel safe in their space. Let's chat a little bit about flying in Mexico at the minute. I haven't been to an airport since January? But I have had friends who have left Mexico in the last few weeks, and it's definitely much quieter. I mean, Mexico City Airport is one of the hubs of the country. It's one of the busiest airports I've ever been in, and apparently it's dead. So things are not everything is open in the airports. Not all the restaurants are open, or the shops and stuff. Just a few smaller places. From what I've been told, at least from last week, you can't sit in any of the restaurants. It's all like sort of takeaway. A few that are before security, I believe you can sit down inside, but they're like spacing people quite far apart in the restaurants because obviously there aren't that many customers anyway. If you fly into Mexico from outside of the country, the precautions being taken are that every person is having their temperature checked. So if you have a fever, I don't know what happens, but I assume you can't come in. Buses have been running at a very reduced capacity in the last 2 months. Most bus companies have been running maybe half, if not a third, of the buses that they run each day because, number one, there are meant a lot fewer people traveling, but also as a way to sort of protect the movement of people. Like, people shouldn't have been moving around. Now that has changed. I have received emails now from several bus companies, including ADO and Primera Plus, saying that they are resuming not full capacity, but like a larger capacity of buses again. You still have to wear a mask on all these buses in order to get on. If you don't have a mask, I don't know, you must be able to buy one in the bus station, I'm sure. Bus stations and airports are being like sort of mandated by the government that they need to be completely sanitized every night. So flying first thing in the morning is a really great option. Yeah, so those are the sort of regulations that are surrounding transportation in the country. The stay-at-home order has changed a little bit. I believe that for most of the country it ended on June 1st. Some places, and particularly Mexico City, they're saying until June 15th. So I'll be really interested to see what happens after next Monday, when pretty much the whole country is not needed to sort of stay inside anymore, and what opens from then, especially in the bigger cities. I'll talk briefly about crossing the borders into and out of Mexico. I know a lot of people have heard that the borders have been shut. Technically, the borders, both air and land, in Mexico have never shut. You've always been able to move in and out. However, the land borders have been a little bit stricter. They're not just letting people cross every single day like they used to be able to. You need to have a particular reason to be moving across the border. It can't be tourism based. So for instance, people who live in Tijuana but work in San Diego, and if their job was something that I suppose couldn't be done at home, and they could prove that they were able to move back and forth, and same thing vice versa. However, like, general tourism across the border is still at the moment not allowed. Yeah, land border crossings are a little bit, I don't know, there's not a ton of information about it. The best resource that I found is the U.S. Embassy to Mexico website. I'll link that below so that you can keep up to date on the changes of the border crossings. So all of the articles where I have found this information, I will link below. A lot of them are in Spanish, pretty much most of them are in Spanish, which is why I wanted to make this video, to sort of help you guys sift through this information. But a few of them are in English. I found Mexico Daily News to be a really good resource for finding information about what's been happening and the changes that are going on in English. So I'll link their main page below as well, so you can follow along with that. And finally, I will link a blog post that I wrote this week, and it's all about what's reopening in Mexico and what's happening. I'm going to be updating that post every Monday for the foreseeable future, because that seems to be, the start of the week seems to be like when changes take place, so that's when I'm going to update all of you. So if you bookmark that post and you come back to it once a week, you'll be able to get more information about where else is reopening, any festivals that are being cancelled or postponed. I'm going to put that information into. Guelaguetza in Oaxaca has unfortunately been cancelled, and I know a lot of you are interested in Day of the Dead and the Cervantino festival as well, and seeing what happens with those in the fall. So that information will all be in that blog post. I will also update you guys via YouTube in these videos as often as I can, as long as the information has changed significantly enough that it warrants another video like this. These take a while to put together, because it is literally like doing a ton of research and then trying to give it to you in clear and concise sentences. I think the reality of the situation here in Mexico is that it's going to be a slow process. I understand that people are still not totally convinced that they even want to get on an airplane, which I think is why the land border crossings are going to be something to watch in the coming months, because road trips are everybody's best friend this summer, I think. And being able to drive from California to Baja, or down into Monterrey, would be a fun way to spend a few weeks. So yeah, I'll keep you guys posted on the land border crossings. The cases in Mexico continue to go up. We had a few days where it started to sort of go down, and then yesterday we were back up to sort of 4,000 new cases. The death tolls continues to climb, and I read an article this morning from I think a university in the US that's analyzing, all this sort of data, saying that the numbers will continue to rise, and the cases that we have now will probably be doubled by September. So yeah, these are the facts that I'm finding, and that's what's happening here in Mexico. I hope you guys found this video helpful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you're not already subscribed, please do so. I will be keeping you as up to date as I possibly can in the coming weeks about what's going on here in Mexico, and I will see you next time. Bye!